King Parikshit said, "O my Lord, my spiritual master, now I have fully heard from your grace about the dynasty of Swayambhuva Manu, but there are other Manus and I want to hear about them, about their dynasties. Kindly describe them to us." Text 2. Manvantare harer janma karmani chamahi asaha grinanti kabayo brahmangs tanino vadashrinvatam. O learned Brahmana Shukdev Goswami, the great learned persons who are completely intelligent describe the activities and appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead during the various Manvantaras. We are very eager to hear about these narrations. Kindly describe them. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has different varieties of incarnations, including the Guna avatars, Manvantara avatars, Leela avatars, and Yuga avatars, all of which are described in the Shastras. Without reference to the Shastras, there can be no question of accepting anyone as an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, as especially mentioned here, Viranti Kaviyaha, the descriptions of various incarnations are accepted by great learned scholars with perfect intelligence. At the present time, especially in India, so many rascals are claiming to be incarnations and people are being misled. Therefore, the identity of an incarnation should be confirmed by the descriptions of the Shastras and by wonderful activities, as described in this verse by the word Mahiyasaha. The activities of an incarnation are not ordinary magic or jugglery, but are wonderful activities. Thus, any incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be supported by the statements of the Shastra and must actually perform wonderful activities. Parikshit Maharaj was eager to hear about the Manus of different ages. There are 14 Manus during a day of Brahma, and the age of each Manu lasts for 71 yugas. Thus there are thousands of Manus during the life of Brahma. One point Srila Prabhupada makes in this purport, the main point is that we have to accept an avatar according to the description of Shastra, which probably to all of you, having heard this many times before, it seems like a very basic point, but it is a point that needs to be preached, as Prabhupada says, especially here in India. There's so many bogus people claiming to be incarnations. So, people don't know this. People mostly, they don't think very much about anything. Modern education teaches us, it's Shudra education. It teaches us how to think in a way for, just like some mathematical problem or some scientific thing, to think in a way that you can manipulate the material nature, but about the purpose of life, about anything deeper than sense gratification. If at all there's any thinking about this, it's training not to think about this. So people are religious, but they're not at all philosophical. Some people are religious, but even then they think that, well, religion's just a matter of faith. This is an idea coming from the Western Enlightenment way of thinking, that we are science means to study facts, and religion is simply blind faith. So, but everything requires faith. You can't even live in this world without faith. You can't put one foot down if you don't have the faith that the floor will support you. So faith is the basis, although they say that they make an artificial distinction between knowledge and faith. Although what they call knowledge is mostly faith, just like I was saying in the class the other night, that we accept that Beijing is the capital of China. We just accept on faith. We accept on faith that there is such a country as China. So practically everything we call knowledge is based on faith. They say, well, it's verifiable. What we have is verifiable, but a lot of what we believe is not verifiable by most people. Just like the higher level of science, E equals mc squared. How many people in the world could understand the theory needed to support that statement? Or even what we say, it's verifiable, but the verifiability is based among a consensus. It's based on a consensus among scientists as to what they can accept. So actually everything depends on faith. It's just a matter of where you put the limit. By limiting their faith, or what they call knowledge, to what they can perceive, they put a very severe limit on their faith. And they presume that anything beyond this must be just imagination, which is another kind. They believe that. It's another kind of faith. So there's a very severe blow to religion, in as much as it's based on faith, but people think that faith and knowledge are something different. Therefore they consider the understanding of religion to be very nebulous or ill-defined. And because it's just a matter of faith, not fact, or verifiable fact, then it's just a matter of opinion, and you can accept whatever you like. But that's not true. Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of God. It gives knowledge of who the Supreme Lord is. It's not just simply someone's opinion. Or it's not that one can have knowledge of God simply by opinion, or that knowledge of God is opinion. That's another. Between the Enlightenment ideas of knowledge, this rationalism, empiricism, between Enlightenment ideas of knowledge and Mayavad, religion has been considered a matter of personal opinion. And therefore you have this so-called secularism, in which they yes, all faiths are wrong. You can believe whatever you like. But why? You should believe what is the fact, what is the truth. Right? The idea that anyone can believe whatever they like simply avoids the responsibility of understanding what is correct and teaching that to others. So it's rascaldom under the guise of what this liberalism, or what this liberal ethos in the world, in which, well, we just accept everything and all opinions are okay. It's actually a kind of rascaldom. Well, you may say, well, it's better to be in the liberal Western world where they allow you to practice Krishna consciousness, whereas in countries like pre-Glasnost Russia, then you weren't allowed to practice Krishna consciousness. Or in China today, or say in Saudi Arabia today. So, well, that's in one sense that's true. That's the other extreme, because they accept a standard of knowledge as being correct, that their interpretation of communism or their interpretation of Islam, and this is correct, although actually they're deluded that what they say, Islam, yes, some truth is there. Even in communism, some truth is there. In communist theory. But they adhere to it in a very rigid and fanatical way. So, which is better, a liberal ethos in which you can practice Krishna consciousness, or illiberal ethos in which you can, a liberal atmosphere in which they say, as within some limits, you can do whatever you like, or think whatever you like. And rigid system in which they try to control people's thinking. Well, it would seem that for practicing Krishna consciousness, an open system is better, but that is not the perfection of life, to accept all different opinions. That we should just, all right, you believe in Krishna, and other people they believe in is Ravi Shankar or Sai Baba, or there's so many bogus incarnations. Even since Prabhupada wrote this, Srila Prabhupada wrote this he dictated it more than 30 years ago. And since that time there's a new generation of bogus incarnations come up. The one was prominent at that time when Prabhupada said that Sai Baba, he's almost dead now. And the new generation of bogus incarnations have come up. Because how is that possible, that people can believe these? You don't have to have a very high level of intelligent discrimination to understand that these people are simply rascals and cheaters. But people they don't, not only do they not see that, but they become very staunch followers of these completely rascal people. That's possible. Well, one reason is because there's no proper government. That's what I always say. It's a sign that there's never been any proper government in India, that they allow all this nonsense. They should, shoot people who claim to be God. But it shouldn't be allowed. Just that example I was given. Cheating. If you cheat someone of money, then you can be brought to the court and charged. It's a criminal offense. You can be put in prison for that. The people are cheating others of not just their money, which is bad enough, but they're cheating people of the whole purpose of their human life. And everyone is cheating. The parents are cheating, the government is cheating. Everyone is cheating because they're not teaching Srimad Bhagavatam. They're teaching people to misuse their human form of life. So they're all cheaters. Everyone is a cheater. Now you'll go out and you'll meet different people. You should know they're cheaters. They might be pious in some ways, but they're cheaters. So these books of Srila Prabhupada, what is that? Janataga Viplavo, they're meant for creating a revolution in the misdirected lives of an impious civilization. When people read these books, if at all they read, if the mercy of the Lord is coming through to them, which will happen if they read the books in a respectful manner. Of course, there's no really other way to read them but in them. Well, you can do. Few people read them to find the faults in them. There's one professor in Copenhagen who was saying that, yes, I've read all your books. You read all the books. And I've even read your Vyasa Puja books. But his whole purpose was to undermine it. Such a demon. Demons are attracted to Krishna also. But most people who read the books, they'll read with some level of submission. Not perfect, but some level. Otherwise, why should they read it if they're not interested to find out what's there? At the very least, we can say people who read Prabhupada's books, they have at the very least some interest in the culture or what's there. So Prabhupada presents such points, like this one presented here, that an incarnation you just can't You just can't grow some fuzzy hair and claim to be an incarnation. Prabhupada points out very clearly that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Shara Ishvarya Purna. He doesn't use those words much, but he says he's replete with 6 opulences. So everything is very clear. So people can see this is the situation. We're being cheated by not understanding these points, because people don't have this education. Then because the very tendency to inquire into the absolute truth in this human life is killed by bogus propaganda. Therefore they don't inquire into the purpose of life, and they become cheated by doing so. So this Krishna consciousness movement is meant to give factual knowledge of the personality of Godhead. So now you're taking out these books. It's a very valuable service. How to say valuable? It's invaluable. You know this word invaluable? It means valuable to the sense that you can't, unlimitedly valuable, so you can't measure it. There's no price. Amulya is the Sanskrit word. How much, giving one of these books, people will say, oh, what's the price? How much do you want for a book? 100 rupees, 200 rupees. Even if you give all the gold in the world, that will not equal the value of one of Srila Prabhupada's books. Because the knowledge of these books gives us the knowledge by which we can, from our point of view, we can transcend birth and death. And then even beyond that, we can go to Krishna. So they are invaluable. There's nothing better you can do for a conditioned soul wandering around in Bangalore, who's somewhat pious, maybe a little bit interested in spiritual life. There's nothing better for you can do than to distribute these books to them. We should have great faith in that. By doing so, people are supremely benefited. And we ourselves, of course, we're also benefited in a way that cannot be imagined by the mundane welfare work that's here, passing out books, you see. What is that? They're promoting their faith, they will say. And generally here in Bangalore, there's people, if they give some donation to ISKCON, they do so because ISKCON or whatever, this imitation ISKCON. Here, they're famous for feeding the poor school children. So people like to give donations because they think that's something very good. They have no idea that giving the book that they're going to get for their donation is far, far more important than feeding school children so that they can get their head full of all nonsense and then live their life in a completely perverted manner. And far more valuable than giving what they call prasad, maybe that's it, I don't know, to the school children so they can be fit and healthy and study better. And far more valuable is to give them and to give people in general these books, the knowledge in these books. So we can be convinced of that and remain as preachers of Krishna consciousness. Throughout our lives, we got this human form of life. If we are fully convinced of the value of these books and the value of giving these books to others. So, any question for you? go out and distribute the books. You have to be convinced. Then you can go on.
Guru Prabhupada was saying that this modern educational system, it has different grades of slaughterhouses.
Did he say that? I know
it's
different grades?
Yeah.
Different grades of slaughterhouses.
I remember that he compared it to slaughterhouse, but I don't know if it's different grades.
It is in Shikshamrita.
Alright. That means it's in one of Prabhupada's letters.
When we are preaching to students,
Let's have a look. Oh.
how we should...
when we're preaching to students, well, it's a very broad statement, isn't it? When we're preaching to students. There are different students and they're at different grades of foolishness or knowledge also.
We have to encourage them to finish their education or...
I wouldn't encourage anyone. You might, not exactly encourage them, but you might, often it's better, it's seen like that it might be better to finish because they're not ready to, take up Krishna consciousness full time anyway. No, I don't see that. It's not exactly that word anyway. Grade isn't used. No, you see, what often happens with students is that when they hear about Krishna consciousness, they think, well, it's so wonderful, and they want to take it up immediately because that's actually the logical thing to do. If you get this knowledge and then you understand, even beginning understanding how important it is, then obviously the logical thing to do is just forget everything else you're doing and take to Krishna consciousness fully. And many students, they feel that, yeah, I should do that. But practically speaking, we see that many people, they're not ready to do that. They have the impulsive feeling that they want to do that, but they're not actually ready to. So even if they join, they try to join full time, and then their parents get on their case, and then they succumb because they don't have developed knowledge or faith in what they're doing. So it becomes a whole big thing, big battle with their parents, and then they just go. In other words, it may be premature for them. It may be premature to tell them. To join immediately, give up their education and join full time. Some devotees, they blew up a slaughterhouse in New Zealand. They killed themselves they weren't like fully devotees. They killed themselves in the process also. This is, Prabhupada writes, the same mentality is involved in trying to blow up a slaughterhouse as there is in meat eating. Such things will not stop people from unnecessary animal slaughter. It is only by educating people in the science of Krishna consciousness that they will automatically develop all good qualities. Well, I don't see this thing about different grades. You can show me if you like. You have to be careful when we quote. Sometimes we just, we just slightly misquote or something.
I read just a few days back.
So, well, it doesn't. You see, Shikshamrita is full of. It's taken from the letters of Prabhupada, and I'm just going through that to see, and I don't see it So it may be, it may not be, we'll see. Yeah. Then?
How is Krishna consciousness process verified?
How is it verified? Go and take some prasadam. Oh, you don't get it till midday here. That's the verification. Pratyaksha vagamang dharmyam sasukam kartam avyayam. You know the translation of this? What is it?
Pratyaksha, you will see when you
You'll directly experience it, yeah. So people say we only believe what we can see. So Krishna consciousness is, it's a matter of the interaction of the Atma with the Paramatma. So you can experience that. You can't measure it. There are so many checks and balances. All the great, like Arjuna says in Bhagavad Gita, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, then you are the supreme absolute truth, the supreme abode, and so on. Then Ahustram Rishya Sarve Devashina. So all the great rishis say this. So there's the authority of persons, self-realized persons. All the Shastras, Sarva Veda Yat Padam Amananti. All the scriptures point to Krishna being the supreme truth. So this is verification.
Just one technical question, just to clarify maybe. We follow when there is, as you read, when there is a text without purport, we don't give purport to this. But sometimes I find some people how is what to...
It seems to be the general etiquette that we don't speak on a text without a purport, although some important verses don't have purports. For instance, Atra Sarga. Does this Sarga have a Visarga at the end? Yeah, Atra Sargo Visargas Cha. You know this verse, the 10 subject matters of Bhagavatam. It doesn't have a purport. Second canto. You don't know those? Atra Sarga Visargascha Stanam Poshanam Uteha Manvantaresh Anukata Nirodhos Muktirashraya. Ten subjects of Bhagavatam. I'll give you the number. 2-10-1. So that's an important verse. It doesn't have a purport.
So when we speak,
but we often quote that verse, though.
But in the process of delivering lectures, when we come across such verses, then you should be...
It seems to be the standard etiquette not to elaborate on it, but I don't think that's. The idea is that if our acharyas haven't commented on it, then because our commentary has to follow the acharyas, so we don't. Generally, we don't, because we take what the shastra has given and what the acharyas have given, and then we develop from there. But if we find some important point in the word, because every word is important in the Bhagavatam, so we may also develop some commentary according to what we've heard from the acharyas. There's another verse. What's that? Kalena Nashta. What is that? Kalena Nashta Pralaya. Oh. Kalena nashta pralaya. Oh, there is a purport to that. Vaniyam Veda Sangita Mayado Brahmane Prokta Dharma Yasyang Hadatmaka. There's another verse which is quoted quite often. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, by the influence of time, the transcendental sound of Vedic knowledge was lost at the time of annihilation. Therefore, when the subsequent creation took place, I spoke the Vedic knowledge to Brahma because I, myself, and the religious principles enunciated in the Vedas. So there's another verse which is quoted quite often. Prabhupada quotes it in the 2nd canto. It's from the 11th canto. Yeah, it's quoted here in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Dashmo Tattva, in Jaiva Dharma, twice in Jaiva Dharma. So, there are many verses. There's so many important verses. Alright, Hare Krishna. Go out and distribute the books, please. You're doing a great service. By reading these books, people can understand. They can begin to understand what is reality. Otherwise, they're just living in fog. Just living in fog.